Warm greetings. Welcome to today's session on women in architecture. The discussion on women in architecture is an understanding of the nuances of being women in the profession and in the larger purview of being in the diverse field of the built environment for those women who started their career with architectural education. The session is conducted with the support of Eco Development and Research Cell, a not-for-profit initiative of the environmental design consultants, where I, Mansee Bal Bhargava, is also part of the organization and also host for the session today. I'm glad that we are doing this conversation with women engaging in the practice and pedagogy of the built environment. The aim is to celebrate the presence and participation of women in shaping the built environment, because for long they have been almost not present in our memories, I must say, institutional memory particularly. The objectives are to learn, document, and disseminate the biographical journey of women who choose to practice, research, do education, get into arts, activism, and a mix of them, especially being in the multi and transdisciplinarity zone to chart their career path, which has been our observation where we have almost covered nearly 50 women in our study so far. Through the study, the intention is to acknowledge and appreciate the contribution of women in the profession and bring forth the critical points that need to be addressed at individual, institutional, and collective levels as what makes or breaks or tweaks the career of women architects in India. The study shall implicitly allow us to understand how women maneuver their lives to find their purpose of being, for which and explicitly help build role models for the current and future generation of architecture profession. The studies also call for action for all to realize the need for an equitable architectural practice in order to advance towards an equitable and sustainable built environment. It's based on the presumption that the profession is heavily patriarchal. The study uses a methodology for carrying out this research, and it's called autoethnography. In simple words, we are looking at the life journey, and it is the researcher's pen who is going to really document that life journey. Just to make a disclaimer here that we are not really focusing on the architecture per se or the practice per se, but whatever practice they have chosen, we look at how they maneuver to that kind of practice and what is there as a woman to do in that zone, and what kind of opportunities and challenges they face. We take informal interaction, and which is based on a semi-structured, open-ended questions, I must say. Then we are developing a video series of the interaction, and we are transcribing the interaction to develop a coffee table book for dissemination. Today we have Supriti, and I look forward to learning about her journey of life. So first of all, thank you, Supriti, for taking out time and agreeing to do this conversation. I'm really looking forward to understanding your worries and wisdom by the woman, for the woman, of the woman in the built environment. And of course, you are going to throw light on how you took it up. And because in here, we are really hoping to learn about how, as a woman in the regular disciplined manner, you have really conducted your life journey. And we will take it as a masterclass for ourselves. So before I invite you with our questions, we have set of questions. So it's going to be an interaction, not a speech. Just a small note on how you have been doing and telling about a little bit biography around it. So Supriti is an alumna of SPA Delhi, having interned with architect Dean D. Cruz in Goa and worked with architect Helmut Schmitz. Wow. At Auroville, she co-founded Avoid in 2002, and she's involved with IIA Puducherry Center as an active executive committee member and missionary. Her works vary from playing Western classical guitar and cello on one hand to Devanagari and Roman calligraphy on the other as her passion. She's actively involved with PR Trust and dedicated to homeschooling for more than 60 children. As you already hear, and we have been hearing for nearly 50 women, that women in architecture have really delimited the very definition, the way architecture is looked as built environment. So Supriti, I hope you are ready for this conversation, and I'm going to throw you the first question right away. How about
That's
it?
fine. Thank you.
Thank you
First of
so
all,
much.
thank you so much for having me here. And I also look forward to this interaction very keenly.
Thank you so much. Let me take you a few years back now, not few years, actually quite a few years back, and try to understand what was the situation at home, at your personal life, which brought you to architecture. So I'm actually taking you to your high school days. How did you land up in architecture education or profession?
So, back then there were only two professions which existed, medical and engineering. I think all of us know that
Yes.
in the mindsets of our families and relatives and friends. But incidentally, I have grown up in a family which was always, we were into factories and research, and
Uh,
my parents were developing products and then, of course, manufacturing them. These were very, very high tech products.
okay.
So my parents were making very special wires and cables, which will go for things like weather sensing. It will
Mm,
go for space applications.
mhm,
So, because my mother was also involved with the work, the
mm,
conversations at home were always about these developments and these researches.
mm,
And there was always something being made.
mm,
And as children, we were also involved in the factory and we will visit and we will see all these things getting made.
mm.
And interestingly, my grandparents, my mother's side, they were making sports goods.
Okay.
So visit to grandparents' place was full of lot of wood being shaved and carved into badminton rackets. Badminton rackets used to be made with wood in those times.
Uh,
Then carom boards and cricket bats. So there was always a discussion of wood, where it is sourced from, how it was seasoned, and how it was carved into, making goods out of the raw material. So
mm,
it was always about making things, building things.
mm.
And we have seen that building things always lands up with building people because you can't make things without making people.
Yes.
So the whole focus was while we had, you have your teenager questions and doubts and you wonder what you want to do, but somewhere in the background, it was getting clear that you have to make things. And engineering was one way of doing it. But I guess that's where also the woman part comes for me because I
Yes.
was quite artistically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this search that what can be the line in which you also apply art, and it's not only just engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not aware of the architecture courses till then, but I was aware of, interestingly, the design course, the NID course. So I really wished to get into that, but I didn't. And
Mm.
then this architecture course came along and I got through. And very frankly, it was only after second, third year of architecture that I realized what we were in for, what is really architectural design.
Yeah.
So first 2 years was just, you just got exercise in and you did them without figuring out, without realizing what it was.
Mm.
So once it dawned on me what we were doing, and then I realized how lucky I was to land into this. And it from then on there was no looking back. It was like this is my calling and I love to do it.
Wonderful. So I want to understand from you, probably with your siblings around or being a girl child in the house, did that influence? And I'm extending the same question to your early architectural education. Uh, when you were studying, I know from my time, and you can relate that if it was like this, we were really bossing around in that class because, first of all, we were toppers as girls, and then we were also quite a few numbers, so equal girls and equal boys in the classroom. We didn't really feel that being a girl or a woman in the profession is going to make a difference in future in the way we are going to carry out the profession. How was it with you in your
So in our
bachelor?
family, my mother was always working. We
Yes,
never had any discrimination. So I don't have any smart story about how I struggled or anything. There was no struggle at all.
absolutely. Yeah,
In SPA Delhi, I still find it's one of the most special places where I don't know the same boys who enter. I'm sure in their background they are not like that, but the moment they entered, they also stopped feeling any difference between girls and boys. So, very frankly, there was no struggle there as well. And as you said, interestingly, we were also bossing around a lot. We
Yes.
were, in a way, more girls, more louder girls than boys. And we never felt, I also never felt that there is any difference. But yes, that left brain, right brain, there is a little bit of a struggle to understand the technical aspects, which it comes little easier to the boys. But I realized that finally, when it comes to application, it was much easier for me. And amongst the girls, I was a little better in the technical subjects. So that gave me also more confidence that I can do it. But when it comes to application, I was able to do it pretty seamlessly. So the real life began when we came out in the profession.
I have my question on that right after. But I think the
Yeah.
seamless way of putting things in place is also because you grew up in a setting where making things, building things, drawing things, carving things was natural then for you.
Yes,
Not
in
like
fact,
many of
yeah.
us who come from very different background and you land up there. Only thing you have as a skill is good drawings. And
Yes.
I think we also realized by the end of final year that having good drawing is not the only thing required in architecture. So I'm sure you also felt that. So how was it around your final year and all and planning? I'm sure you also had those goosebumps and ki ab kya? What next after this? Going here, going there, doing masters abroad, which was in my case, most of my friends were planning or practicing or doing job or was the again the woman factor coming into mind that it is going to be different because by then we had already returned from our internship. So how was it in your case?
So for me, by the time actually I had found Neil and both of us were inclined to do, we were very clear that we wanted to practice architecture in the most rudimentary, down to earth way.
Hmm.
We were very clear that we wanted to practice architecture away from our background,
Hmm.
which is my home, his home, our college, our friends, because then we can set our own rules.
Huh.
And we knew that we want to finally build things, make things, and have a workshop. And, then both of us had done a small product design course in college. And that had really sparked us that this is the aspect which has to be brought into architecture.
Hmm.
So it was again, it was very clear that we have to just start.
Huh.
And we were, I think studying abroad or studying for masters was never our wish
Hmm.
because we realized that will be helpful only if we have worked for a while. And
Hmm.
once we started working, there was no looking back. So it
Hmm.
just happened naturally.
Hmm. 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 So how
So I
did
think
you
that
become?
decision was also pretty clear.
So you straight away entered into practice as a collaboration between both of you, or how was it?
We started working with respective seniors here in Pondicherry. So Neil joined a builder's office because he felt that he was missing the experience in building.
Hmm.
I joined Helmut. I worked with him for 3 years, which was amazing, very,
Hmm.
very amazing experience for me because all the 3 years I was his only assistant. So I got the best of him
Yes.
and I kind of, nichodified everything from him that I could. And he
That's
was
the
also
best way to be
happy for
mentored and educated.
yes, like one is to
Stuck
one
lightning
guru
left and
shishya.
both. So yeah.
Yes, and he continues to be our guru even till now. When we do a large, significant project, we
Hmm.
take the concept to him, and even now he gives insights which opens up our minds and shows us how to look at things differently and in alternative ways.
Hmm.
So we have had mentors, all these years, which who have guided our path all
I
the
think
time. So
mentors are extremely important part of our lives, for that matter. Even I mean, for everyone, to how you chart your life in certain direction, because there are ups and downs in career all the time. So
yes.
I just want to understand from you because you mentioned that you started working and then probably slowly you drifted to having your own practice and all. And I know you belong to a very different cultural background, being in Pondicherry and Puducherry now, Tamil Nadu, Auroville setting, vis-a-vis the North India. But I'm sure there are situations where you may have realized about being woman, or if not, that is also fine. But if not, then I would also like to know how in that part of the country or in that part of culture, how inclusive it is in practice, and how responsive people are to women practitioners in your early career, because I know things are very different now. So we want to
Yeah,
still.
so I have a very interesting anecdote.
Yes.
So in college, I wanted to try out riding a bullet. So one of my classmates had it, and I did. And just there was a flash of a dream that wish there was a place where doing something like this is not special. It is
Huh.
normal.
Naturalized. Huh.
It's naturalized. So when I came to Auroville and Pondicherry, that's how it was. Here everyone was doing everything.
Huh.
That is how the ashram, Sri Aurobindo's ashram, mother and Sri Aurobindo, they have made their children grow. And
Huh.
that is how it is in Auroville. So there were no barriers at all.
Hmm.
So something which will raise eyebrows in Delhi, nobody even looked at you if you were doing such things.
Uh-huh.
So suddenly I realized that I was in my dream place
Hmm.
where this is normal, where you're not struggling to prove anything to anyone.
Hmm.
But those were the days when I was still with Helmut. When
Hmm.
we started our own practice,
Hmm.
which was with a lot of people with different walks of life,
Yes.
it was not the same.
Yes.
It took some time for them to realize it was always, and because we started together, it was quite a struggle between Neil and I, as in not between Neil and I, but for Neil and I against the world. That, they will say, okay, Neil is an architect and Supriti is also an architect. Neil is doing this and Supriti is also doing this. So, how much it was a struggle for me, I think it was even more for Neil.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So, and we were like wondering how to break this.
Huh.
And it took us years to
Of
come
course.
to a balance where it doesn't, occur in our mind space anymore, which is one way which we did was that we chose to work on all projects together. So it
Okay.
brings the best of both in all projects.
Mm-hmm.
And out of our very large the body of works, there are, I think, not even 1% of the projects on which both of us have not worked on together. And they are really not the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
So all this, of course, took a lot of efforts in doing, but it has given a very good outcome for our clients. And they all have started respecting it and,
Mm.
identifying it.
So how do they
So
identify both of you then? Because I have a question actually on how does it make a difference if you have a spouse from the same profession or not from the same profession, and you're already answering it. So thank you so much, because there are people who had same profession and still had to choose a different path. And one of them is myself, who is sitting here. And so it's a very individualistic. But now how do people recognize both of you? I'm curious now.
So between both of us, it was always, we were very clear we wanted to do architecture. We wanted to do architecture together. So the
Huh.
third question was that, if you ask me if I will choose between Neil and architecture, I would say architecture. And if you ask Neil the same question between Supriti and architecture, he will choose architecture. So that became beyond us.
Yes, the convergence. Yes.
So that is why we had to make our relationship work to make architecture work
Hmm.
rather than compromising on architecture to make our relationship work. So it
Very
was very
good.
clear.
Hmm.
So it, as I said, it took some effort. It took some years of effort, but then the result was very fulfilling, and it has been. We are on a high. We are like, kind of.
Yes, I can completely. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for putting it so, beautifully when you said that if we have to choose architecture between this and between a person and the profession. And that is also the convergence point, as I can understand from you. But let me add an extra layer of complexity being a woman, apart from profession, there is also a personal life, a part that is beyond even the relationship. You have to manage house, office, which you may see that many well-known male architects even till date have their other halves running the show at the background, and the face of the office is someone else. I mean, not someone else, but the man himself. Uh, um, I wish to understand from you, with the layers of you and Neil and the profession sorted out, how is it in the personal space, which is the house front and all? Is that same? Or of course, it took some time to even bring that into an
So,
order. But how is it? How did you do it? Probably I should ask you the mantras of all these things, because so that in future women are not really thinking twice what to do. I mean, of course, everybody will have their own individual way of looking at life, but still.
so I would say it was a stroke of luck. Neil's family and Neil's parents, especially Neil's father, they are, I think, from a different planet.
Uh,
They were so supportive of what we were trying to do because they saw that we are trying to do that together.
mm,
And they could, I mean, it took them also some years to realize
mm,
our love and passion for our work,
mm,
that they kind of fell in line with what we were trying to do.
mm,
So, and because of that, Neil was always of that nature where, we did things together, we did everything together. So it worked out very well. But
mm.
of course, women are from Venus and men are from Mars. So all those things happen. We have a
Absolutely.
lot of fun stories amongst us
The Tom and
where
Jerry.
things went very wrong and, a lot of things got bungled up. All those things happen. Over the years, after some years, you laugh at them. Of course, at that time, they were very painful for
Yes,
everyone.
yes,
There were a lot of mishaps, a
yes.
lot of things went wrong.
Mm.
But finally, in hindsight, you just realize that they were part of the story. It's all right.
Yes,
Because finally, if your bigger goal is very clear and it's right in front of you, then these small things don't matter.
yes, absolutely. But could you please highlight some of the, things that you have been working on? Just a highlight of it where your specialization revolves around.
In terms of, I mean, can you be more specific in terms of
So
what?
the work which you do, I mean, you specialize in certain areas of architectural practice, or how do you take your practice there? I mean, in that way.
So I think somewhere we are very generalists. We have been taking things as they have come because
Mm.
it was a small town. It is still a smaller town as compared to others. And because we were also into making of things, we have a workshop.
Yes.
We also took one step ahead and we created this company which is for project management of the mid-scale projects.
Okay.
And in fact, we are extending that service to other architects in and around Pondicherry,
Okay.
Chennai, Coimbatore. And that has really helped in putting, how should we say, a vertical. So
Mm.
the design vertical is actually supposed to take care of the management of the site, which we realized, which we did for 20 years in the beginning, we did. And then we realized that that actually needs a totally different mindset and it
Ah.
needs a different skill set.
Mm.
So we created a company with focusing on those skill sets, and that's a vertical which is parallelly running. So we
Mhm.
are always wearing multiple hats.
Yes.
We have another partner, so three of us are managing different aspects
Mhm.
altogether. It's always a trapeze show trying to do this and that, and then this slips out, and then still there is some safety net, and you land there, then you start climbing again. So that is constantly happening. So it is a very generalized practice. We are open to all materials, all
Okay.
scales of clients, all kinds of execution or furniture or elements.
Mm-hmm.
I would say special is one is we are focusing a lot on prototyping.
Yes.
So when
Okay.
we design a new element, which
Mm.
is in a building or in a product, we have the facility to create a prototype,
Okay.
which becomes like a working
So you're
model
having the
for
workshop, I suppose.
in the workshop. So our workshop and the office is just adjacent to each other.
Wonderful.
So so it's a constant, it's a very active place, a lot is happening. It's almost become like an institution.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
if I don't know if
I,
you can hear the machine running even now,
uh-huh.
and it's like an ecosystem where quite a lot is happening. And second aspect which we are focusing on is developing entrepreneurs, because I think
Okay,
that's what our country needs. And
absolutely.
we don't hold on to our colleagues. We train them in all aspects. It's a very transparent
Mm,
office in which we share all aspects of our work so that they can run their own practice
mm,
in the way they like.
mm,
And there are other opportunities here. So somebody develops into taking care of the workshop, somebody is more keen on the site. There
mm.
is a youngster who's learning how to make models right now. So it's an ecosystem. So we are constantly, it's like a gaon. It's like a village where everything is happening together.
Very well put.
And
And I think having a workshop for me has always been a dream, like, office to hota rahega. But there has to be a place where you can constantly experiment on things and, you know,
yes, yes,
evolve yourself much, much more in detail. So
yes.
let me move on to my another question where you have already shared a few of them, but still some life-changing moments and decisions that shape you today, and I mean brought you where you are today. Maybe uh, in the negative sense or in the
In
positive
a
sense.
positive sense.
I leave it to you.
There is one point which I wanted to share in general. If
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't come in the question anyway, I will share is
Please share.
something which is traveling. My parents were travel freaks,
Huh.
and we traveled a lot in the country. And it was at that time second sleeper with very shoestring budget, nothing fancy.
Backpacking.
And yeah, so five of us will just take off and pack our bags, hold all small suitcases, and take the second sleeper train and then go off.
Mm.
So we have gone to Northeast, we have come to South India, we have been to Rajasthan. Way back when we were when we were 12 years old, 15 years old, way before architecture. So, I really feel very grateful to my parents to have done that with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we, of course, carried forward that in the architecture course. And interestingly, once we came here and we started our practice, we haven't had that much chance to be able to take off and travel, especially in the initial years. So
Work.
the work, it's now only the work which takes you at places, but you don't. We chose not to take holidays. We chose that the real holiday is the change of work. So we do something else in that time rather than going away
Or
per se.
holidaying for work or working on holiday.
For holiday, whichever way. So those travels have been one of the key
Mm,
life changers for
mm,
me. And Neil's parents were also similar. So
mm.
they have done a bike trip from Odisha to Leh in that time. They called the trip as Sagar se Thatak or something like that, from sea to the skies.
Wow.
And I have also done a lot of treks. And once we started our work, I only keep dreaming of treks. I have not been able to do even a single one.
Now
Now
is
I
the
don't even
time.
know whether I can.
Now is the time. Let's put it that way.
Maybe.
So
So,
I think that's an integral part of our profession, traveling and
yes,
experiencing
yes,
places and people both.
yes,
We
yeah,
cannot distinguish between place and people in our profession. It's
yes.
extremely important. So, would you still like to take that question on any life-changing decisions that you made in life? Probably, of course, was of course choosing Neil as a as a working partner. I must say.
Uh, it's a work-related experience. There was something which really brought us down in the dumps to say. There was one client whom we trusted, and we had not done the proper paperwork, and we didn't get the payment for a long time. It took us almost 4 years to come out of that situation. And that was also the time when we kind of thought of giving up on certain aspects. And that I think that's where our mentors came in. And rather than telling us not to give up, they gave us a lot of examples. And one of our very senior mentors is Dr. Chamalal Gupta and Shipradi here. They are now in their 90s.
Huh.
So I remember when we were not able to manage construction, we were also doing construction at that time. So he said, okay, let's go to Chennai. I'm going for this conference. You come along with me. And there, in front of other architects, he strikes this conversation. I understood much later why he did that. And he said, see, these people have a construction team and they are not able to manage and they are thinking of giving up. And they were architects who were in their 60s and 70s. And they said, no, no, don't give up. It is at this stage we are trying to set up a construction team. You guys hold on and don't do that. And things like that. And then, on the way back from Chennai, I started feeling that, okay, if people want to start construction at the age of 60 and we are already doing it, then why should we give up? And it was much later in life that I realized that how craftily, how indirectly he got me to realize not to give up.
Yes.
And another, of course,
What
another.
mentors are. That's what mentors are doing, social
Yeah.
engineering in a very soft way. You don't even feel it.
So, yes, but that was quite an event for us, but it kind of, and that taught us that in any down, that there is a next up.
Hmm.
So after that, one, it was a very big down. So after that, all other downs look very small.
Mhm.
And when we had larger downs, we were like, okay,
Deal.
you have to have a down to feel the up. So just it's fine, go on.
No, that's a very good way. Again, you articulate how ups and downs are part of life. I mean, you can't escape the downs, especially if you want to go up. That's
Yes.
important for us to realize.
And
I
in a
think
way, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better that you're going so much up.
yes, absolutely. So, because you have had, and as you mentioned, you are building entrepreneurs as well, apart from building and architectural products and projects. I would like to understand from you. You may have come across many girls and women in your expanse of profession and life. Uh, and maybe you have not faced that challenge of being woman in the profession, but I'm sure you realize that there is a difference of being woman in the profession. So I would like to understand your experience from even yourself as well as those who have worked with you, the physical and psychological aspects of being woman in this profession. I mean, see, you may have as an individual different experience, but as a researcher, when I'm studying so many of you, I see a pattern of physical and psychological aspects. So I'm just trying to understand, uh, if not personally, I'm sure there is personally, but it takes some time to really recollect and respond. But I'm sure because you are mentoring many young minds and also in your past peer groups. What do you think are the serious physical and psychological aspects women go through in the profession?
One, of course, is the safety because architecture cannot be practiced without being on site.
Hmm.
So there are so many situations where one has to learn how to be safe.
Hmm.
So that is something which I always teach my younger colleagues that,
Hmm.
you have to find your ways
Hmm.
to do things and not shrug from doing things in the name of safety. So you
Yes.
have to find ways. And there are
Hmm.
always ways around.
Hmm.
So you take another colleague with you, or you find, and the moment you feel a spot which feels like unsafe, then you leave that spot. But that should not deter you from doing the required thing again.
Hmm.
So I think that is one. The other is, of course, that feeling of whether the contractors and the people on site, whether they give you the correct response
Hmm.
just because you are a woman or a girl.
Yes.
I tell them very clearly that, very frankly, it's nothing to do with girl or boy.
Hmm.
First, you learn the job, you learn the point, you learn to cut, you learn the subject. And
Hmm.
once you do it and clearly and firmly, you will gain the respect.
Hmm.
And most of our environment, because they have seen me from the beginning, they also don't really, I would say, distinguish between our girl colleagues or the boy colleagues. So I would say somewhere it's easier for my girls. So,
Yeah,
but I
it's
always
a it's
insist
an
on,
sanitized environment. Then in that case, the world is not as sanitized as it must be in your office. So I'm
no,
sure there is.
I insist on them to focus on the subject. If you
Yes.
are strong in the subject, if you know what you're talking about, if you have really understood it, then you will get the respect. And where you feel that there is a discrimination, then you come back to me. And 9 times out of the 10 times, it's not the discrimination, it is the lack of knowledge.
Yes.
So, and then they overcome it pretty soon. The psychological part is, of course, the family part. The families, they try to put different responsibilities on girls than boys. So, interestingly, the pressure of those responsibilities and expectations from the parents is equally harsh on boys also, somewhere, which is different, which is not on the gender discrimination, but somewhere it is also a gender discrimination.
It is there because of different roles we have to play in the
We have to
society.
play. Yes. So, this is something which Neil and I have been doing very actively, speaking to our girls' parents. We spend a lot of time doing that.
As well.
Yeah, we do a lot of explanations to them and, sharing with them what their daughter is into, what is she in for, and how demanding this profession is. It is not, it doesn't pay back so fast, it doesn't give you position so fast, but what they are doing and how it's going to affect so many people's lives in such positive ways, and it's going to affect the profession in so many positive ways, that many parents are able to see it. It's just that nobody told them before
Yes.
this.
I think it's again information sharing, and also that it is a rewarding not only monetarily, but there is also a sense of satisfaction that many
Satisfaction.
realize in this.
Yes.
No, very interesting. I would wish to understand again from your experience of mentoring so many of them and also from your peer group experiences. There are always some situations where especially when you are in practice and even in academics for that matter, there are opportunities which can be exercised being a woman. And of course, you are already mentioning about safety, but I would like to elaborate a little bit more on that. There are also many a times some challenges when you are in some kind of, engagement and you feel no, it is better to back out being a woman in the profession. Have you ever encountered those kind of opportunities and challenges? And if you not, probably you can also share with others experiences whom you have been mentoring. And I know there are many times when you feel that it is better. I'm thinking and doing things in such a way, probably because being a woman is looking at the world very differently.
I have done a lot of crazy things which I should
Please
not
share.
have done. I have myself done a lot of unsafe things. um, I have done things, yes, which are very, very crazy. When I look back, I tell myself I should not have done.
No, but would you like your younger generation to?
So when they do it, when they do it, I never say no to them.
Yeah, because somewhere in the heart you feel,
We have done it. We have done it all.
absolutely. But I'm
Yeah.
sure there are some, because I was just reading something yesterday, and on the face, a person is saying that, okay, I don't speak to women. There are these kind of situations which people face. And it's important, like people like you and me, and, all women who have gone through this phase of life, we are able to tell our younger generation how to deal with these situations, how to make them understand. I completely agree with you that the lack of information sharing is one of the key reasons why people do not understand first the profession and then the woman in that profession. I mean, you may have not faced, because again, part of that part of the culture and the country's best part, I must say, the South India's, even the best of the South India part, where still women have much more, I will say, voice as compared to what I see in Northern India, Western India, that way. So I'm just curious, how do people in that part of the country are really handling when they come up with awkward situations, or they take charge. ठीक है, let me just do this. I will take care of if there is some situation.
I think it's about self-confidence building.
Mhm.
You have to really become very clear that you know the subject.
Mhm.
You have to establish yourself and say, at least if I face a person who says that I don't talk to the women, I don't talk to a woman, or I will not listen to a woman, what I think I will do is to try to at least gain some opening where I will say that, okay, listen to me, then you reject me.
Huh.
And in that listening, I will keep finding out where are those openings. See, all people have an opening. There is a small door. When
Mm.
people close themselves off by these
Mm.
statements, certain statements or certain
Mm.
makeups in their minds,
Mm.
there is still some opening somewhere.
Mm.
So you have to be a great psychologist to understand that opening and enter once into that opening. And you will realize that somewhere finally all people have a good heart.
Absolutely. We
Even
have
the worst of the demons have a
yes.
good heart. It's just that you have to learn to enter them. So if you have entered, then you can make a place. But I also have a very strong intuitive and the intuitive power where I get to feel, it's very personal. I get to feel कि हाँ इसके साथ बात नहीं बनेगी. There is
Mm-hmm.
no way I can deal
Chemistry
with
you
this
can feel
person.
that in.
Yes, that sixth sense.
Mm.
And I say, okay, this is not my fight.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to prove myself to this person is not my fight.
To make, it's not
So
worth it then, huh?
yeah, so but I have to prioritize that. If it is interfering with my architecture or my principle of that architecture or certain things I want to push, then I will find that opening.
Huh.
But if it is something on the side and it's only an ego clash that he doesn't want to listen to a woman, but if it is not bothering my work, then I will say, okay, go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen. You can be with your own opinion. I don't care. But if I need him, if he is going to be an instrument in resolving something in my site or in my design, then I will work towards
Yes.
finding that corner in his or her heart that, please listen to me and come and, I'm not that bad and, let's do something together. And your contribution will help this so much. And many times it has worked. Many times it hasn't worked.
Yes. I
I've
mean,
had lot of heartbreaks like this that I thought I'll make it work. It didn't. And
you have to
then you have to try. Then you take that blast on your ego that yeah, if I was a man, I could have done it. There are times and I take Neil's help.
try.
As I say, this thing I'm not able to crack, you please go and crack it and get this done.
No, that's the
So
important part, not to give up. I think what I'm learning from you majorly, and you also shared your mentor story of going to Chennai and returning, and these are all small lows where you have to really encounter and as well as find out
yeah.
a counter in.
There are so many times where in our ego, we want to solve it ourselves.
Yes.
Now, it may not be the point to prove that women are equal or better than men all the time. That's not required. What is required is that you get your job done.
Yes.
So get the job done with another colleague. If he's saying and that fellow listens, it's fine. Get it done. Finally, it's important to get things moving.
I think that clarity from your early career may have helped you resolve many things, but of course, it is not as rosy picture as we are talking here because when you look back, things look rosy. But I'm sure it was
Yeah,
not
it
a
has been.
rose with
There have been
thorns,
lot.
rose with thorns.
Yeah, there have been gallons of tears and there have been numbers of sleepless nights with this.
Can completely
But
relate.
it's more about, our conversation should be more about the solution and looking forward rather
Absolutely.
than
Yes.
lamenting about the past. So there are of course very bad experiences, but
Yeah.
then you take them as that, okay,
Sense.
how should I do it the next time? How much more stronger I can make myself the next time where, I don't I don't face it. This whole concept of being that smooth pot on which whatever water falls, it will just fall off. So if you're confident, then such things should not touch you. And then you should be able to get back to them and get your things going.
Because if the focus is clear, that work has to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the inspirations in your life or mentors in your life. I would still like to take this opportunity to ask you people who have influenced you as a person, as a human being. And of course, parents are there to always be acknowledged. But I mean, in terms of also profession and how do you do the professional conduct, you have a partner, working partner, who I'm sure is also inspiring, but I'm still looking for more you would like to acknowledge at this point in time, who have influenced you the way you are today.
So from the childhood, it was also my grandmother along with my parents. She was very hardworking
Hmm.
and she had multiple skills.
Hmm.
And she was also very technically equipped as well as, into music and into homemaking and everything. So from there, I think I got this gift of a lot of hard work. I don't feel tired or lazy at all.
So we share
And
it together. Then,
I I'm a workaholic, you can make me work anytime and I would love to do that.
as long as there is work, we are happy.
वी आर
So
हैप्पी या मतलब खाली बैठ के अजीब सा लगने लगता है अब क्या करें
करने का टाइम ही नहीं मिलता, to be honest.
अब तो नहीं मिलता है या सो दैट वाज वन एंड दैट हैज बीन अ ग्रेट हेल्प बिकॉज then you learn to fill up your time. It pushes you to get better at things. It pushes you to do more things,
Hmm.
which in turn make your personality, in turn makes you vaster.
Hmm.
Then, of course, our guru, Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they are the greatest teachers and inspiration all the time. We always go back to them, their writings. So it is Sri Aurobindo's statement actually that God makes our falls a means for a greater rise. So whenever we had the falls, we always believed in that greater rise.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
we were lucky to have so many mentors in Pondicherry, Auroville, who are constantly guiding us.
Hmm.
They have guided us in all aspects of life, profession, business,
Hmm.
conduct.
Hmm.
They always taught us to see things from the other's perspective.
Hmm.
Because many of those mentors are actually mentors to the other party. Let's say our client.
Hmm.
Actually, he or she is also their mentee.
So, okay.
So they always taught us to look at things from the other side,
Hmm.
which has helped us with working with anyone and everyone.
Hmm.
Then, of course, one of the mentors is he has a very great heart for the workers and the labor class. So he also brought that sensitivity in us because finally they are the ones who are making what you are visualizing.
Hmm.
So we became very sensitive to the people, our work people. And actually, that is where this Pyar Trust started. So we were trying to help their children and we realized that whatever help we give, they were not able to come up because even when they were intelligent, they were not given that space and position in the schools they were going to. So we started homeschooling ourselves,
Ah.
where slowly it has developed into a big organization. Now there are 60 children, and now we are building a place for them, which will be a residential school for them and it is affiliated to NIOS.
Hmm.
So they all can follow their own calling, their own pace of learning.
Hmm.
And most of them are children of the people who work with us, our rickshaw pullers' children, our accounts helps children, our workers' children. So as I said, it's like an ecosystem, a community where a lot is happening together.
So you have to
So
make a gown, full gown for yourself.
पूरा गाँव है ये हाँ
Very interestingly put. So we are almost coming towards the end of our conversation with just few questions left here. When you look back from the time when you had graduated to where you are today, how do you think people are looking at you? in all sense for that matter. How did you do in profession, as a woman, as having different relations with different people? You are wife, sister, mother, daughter. What do you think has been I mean, what is very satisfying, or how would you say that how people look at you over the years now? Hardworking is one thing which I
I
caught.
think, no, I think, more than how they look at you have to first look at yourself.
Of course,
And
then maybe you take the
somewhere,
question in that manner. How do you
yeah.
reflect in your how many years of journey? I think it would be nice to also know that now when you graduated till date, so you can know how many
So
years.
it is exactly 25 years.
Hmm.
99, around the same time we graduated our batch, and it's exactly 25 years. And I have been a very shy, very self-conscious person. And suddenly, lately, last few years, I feel very confident and, you know, uh,
Public figure.
not, I mean, settled with myself.
Hmm.
So suddenly, when I feel like that myself,
Hmm.
I feel very comfortable with everyone. I don't feel that I need to explain something or prove something. Or so now what my language has changed with my colleagues and my friends or with my relatives, that build self-confidence,
Uh,
because it has taken, and I always say that it has taken me so many years. Why should it take you 25 years?
yes,
You
actually,
do
that
it
is
in
where
you do it in 2 years.
yeah, actually, that is where our role as mentor comes
Yes.
very crucial,
Yeah.
becomes very crucial, because probably I also feel the same. If somebody had mentored me, I would have really saved 10, 15 years of my life the
So
way I
many, like, yeah.
you know. So of course, that is our duty to give to the
Yeah.
younger few generations. We have three generations, four generations already. We are us,
Yes.
after us.
Yeah.
So, and they can save this time and do more wonders or evolve better
Yes.
than the way we have evolved. So I think that that goes across all our generation. I will say we are from the similar generation time. So that definitely stands out very clear. So thank you so much for bringing that question. I have a second last penultimate question here, which
Yeah.
is I think a little bit of professional question, but I don't know how you are going to take it up. Because as a research and looking at the global studies as well, we know that architecture profession is patriarchal. And I'm doing this study based on that assumption. Whether my respondent is facing that brunt or pressure or not is irrespective of my research. So there are more male architects when you go to colleges and practices. You find they are more well known, they are more documented. Now, I would like you to imagine a situation. We stand in this situation today, and it is just a hypothetical situation, not that I wish that situation arises because I am not a feminist myself. Imagine a situation in a society that architecture by profession was a woman's profession. So there are more women architects, and few male architects are really supporting them or making their way out or finding their name and so on. Exactly opposite what is happening with women today. What do you think would have been different in the way buildings are built, neighborhoods are made, cities are planned? It's
Definitely,
a
they'll be more sensitive. They will be more people oriented rather than money oriented, because right now it is totally business oriented. All uh, design solutions are oriented towards how can it make more money.
how more material can be put, how more, yeah, this and that.
Correct. And that is actually somewhere a very patriarchal thought.
Yes.
It is man's job to make money.
Hmm.
When
Yes.
we say the woman, she is called the breadwinner, not
Huh.
the money maker.
Huh.
When the man is doing it, he is called the money maker. So when the
Huh.
woman is doing the part of that part of the role, then it is somehow managing the bread.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why is that? Because when we are doing something, we are thinking about people, their aspirations, their wishes, their future,
Priority. Not how much to earn money out of it.
not how much to. And it's more is not always more.
Hmm.
It is the appropriateness, the correctness, the correct application. You know that famous story of if the chocolate was half chocolate and half vanilla, and if you do half half, and if I don't like chocolate, what will I do with the chocolate part?
Hmm.
So the equitable is not always half half. It's not always equal. So
Yes.
there are different aspects. So it has been our profession has been governed by the only the business part of it. So there is this other heart part of it, the feelings part of it,
Hmm.
which will come to the forefront. And I think our places, our neighborhoods, our homes, our cities will be much more complete because women are able to see many more aspects at the same time.
Mhm.
There will be many more boxes which will get ticked, many more loops which will get closed because we can think of water conservation, we can think of using solar, and we can think of this, that together.
All things at
All
one
things
place
together,
at one time.
one
Yeah.
time. So if more and more of us can think of that together and come up with solutions which will take care of these, then so many more of global issues
Hmm.
will become, lesser of issues and
Hmm.
more of joys.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's also about women leadership, actually, because we are so much short of women leadership, and that's also in our profession. This kind of series is kind of an attempt to make women leadership a role models out of these stories, so that the younger generations knows that yes, there were women who really did some wonderful work, and they need to be heard. My study and research says that many women have really not taken it very seriously to document and disseminate their work. A, they did not feel that it is important without realizing that they are not documenting and disseminating is a loss to the society. It's a serious loss.
So, Mansi, that comes from the innate nature, this whole thing of women from Venus, men from Mars, whatever. The innate nature of women is not, they don't feel this as priority. For man, whether he does something or not, he has to be right in front.
Hmm.
So 10 years ago, when women leaders and women architects, let's talk about architecture only, when they started coming to the forefront, it was very difficult for the younger boys because it was for the first time they had seen a woman senior
Boss.
or a woman boss or a woman leader. Thankfully, that situation is not there anymore.
Yes. No, it has changed
It has
drastically.
changed, correct. So within 20 years, actually, we have seen two generations.
We have seen a big transition also in
We have seen
the.
a big, so there is a great hope that in within next 10 to 15 years, and I'm sure it will be accelerated, that this whole situation will be very different. So
Absolutely.
what you are hoping
Working
and
towards it.
what you are envisaging will be true very soon. I really believe in it.
Yeah, I also wish to live a day in my own life where we don't have to discuss gender. It's like here is an architect, here is architecture, or here is built environment. Go and do it the way you started
That's
your
it.
career. You know,
Yeah,
gender relation एक तरफ है, काम यहाँ है, problem यहाँ है. Let's go and do it. Who is doing it is very. It has to be at the background, but how we are doing it is still going to be, there are going to be nuances about how we are doing it, and that's where also gender comes into picture, because you also already mentioned that it will be more complete, there will be more holistic view. The fact that half of the population, if I take it beyond architecture also, if half of the population is not putting their views, is not represented, then the project or the implementation or the idea itself is half. Where you take from any policy to any implementation. So I think it's a complementary situation where we can get into in this gender discourse. And I do wish that that day comes that gender discussion ho hi nahi raha. I would
exactly.
really like to have that time in my life for that. My last question to you is actually directed towards your message to the younger generation. You already mentioned that things are changing, but still maybe you can give us some mantras or some guidance for the younger generation, what they should be doing in terms of their conduct, in terms of their behavior. They means both gender, men and women and all other genders as well for that matter. And because the focus is on women aspect, what the younger generation should be keeping in mind or doing or not doing to engender the profession. so that 20 saal baad there is no gender discussion and we are all only architects.
So I think most important is to focus on the subject. We should learn our subject so well that we don't have to think about anything else.
Hmm.
The our subject is actually, I mean, architecture is called the mother of all arts. It is not just like that. It does need so much of effort and so much of learning and so many subjects, so many aspects. So we really have to give it those many hours. That special, that's the, what is it called? That famous 10,000 hours, no? That book, The
Hmm.
Outliers, that author, he mentions about these 10,000 hours you have to put in into your work for you
Hmm.
to become exceptional. So if we count 8 to 10 hours a day, how
Yes.
many years it will take us to be able to reach there? And it
Yes.
only after that that we should be able to call ourselves architects.
Hmm.
So mm, are we giving that due to our profession, to our craft?
Hmm.
So first is let's give that.
Okay. Yes.
Let's
So,
become experts to call ourselves experts. It's not a degree which will make you an expert. It is your real knowledge. Yeah.
yes. And also how much you think through the heart, to be honest, because you put your hand here. So I am also realizing it, how much you work through passion, that also.
You should know that you know.
Hmm.
And of course, the second is that mm, self-confidence. Be very honest with yourself. When you don't know, you don't know. Just say it. And it's
Just
all
say,
right.
and I think people appreciate that. It's okay not to
Yes.
know some things. You don't have
Yeah.
to know everything in this world.
So
That's
when I don't know something, I always say, okay, let's learn together. Let's
yes.
learn on the job.
Hmm.
So, go from there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank you so much. Because I clubbed two questions because you already mentioned how beautiful architecture profession is. Otherwise, I break the last question into two parts, you know,
Mm.
because many people don't know our profession. So that's why it is also important that we also talk about our profession, why people should join architecture. But you already answered that in your question on engendering. So I come towards to an end two questions to you. But this is also a time when I invite you to ask me question if you have any regarding the work or anything about me or project or anything you have.
So, amongst all these talks over so many months or years you must be doing, you can share something which has been very heart-wrenching or very touching for you. Because on one hand, you are doing it as a research,
Yes.
but each of these conversation also must be uh, touching you somewhere.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. And it's a very good question, I must tell you, Supriti. And I mean, it has been learning experience also discussing with you, and you articulate your point so well, so positive, optimistic person. And I will be very honest why we have been doing this research. And of course, it's a personal journey. And every conversation I'm having, Supriti, I'm also reflecting upon my own life, my own journey.
yes,
You
yes,
saw that
I
I'm
can
giving
imagine.
pieces.
Yeah,
I'm giving pieces from my own life as well. When we
yes,
were talking
yeah,
about,
yeah,
converging profession, I
yeah.
mentioned about diverging profession and all. And I think for me, it has been extremely, I will say, contending, especially when I started working on this project. This project was in my head from 1995. Let me be very honest on
You have
that.
told me, yes.
But now we are on record, so it comes on record as well because every time our speaker is asking a different question, and I feel blessed to be able to express myself as well because I would like to express myself. But I got a clarity what I wish to do. I think only when Madhvi Desai ma'am came up with her book on women in architecture, and she focused on the life of women as well as the architecture they do. And I knew that I do not wish to focus on the architecture. I love to read biographies. I read as many biographies as I can. It's not about to see how people became successful, but it is to learn their life's journey. I love that. And I have been a social engineering person, I must say. I love to interact with new people. That's my wish and skill set as well. I make good friends. So I think when this book came up and I read the book, I was much clearer what I wish to do in this project. And then I drafted the concept note and I started meeting people. And I'm already talking about 6 years ago. So the project is already going on for 4.5 years now. And you can already imagine how struggling it is to only reach 50. You are my 50th person, by the way,
Oh,
today.
wow.
Uh, it has not been easy to find women. And my major learning, as I already told in my conversation, and you already mentioned about Venus and Mars through it, that women do not realize the importance of their work being documented and disseminated. They do not realize that they are actually holding back this gender equality to be achieved because they are so busy in their lives. They are so, and in a way, implicitly, actually, they are endorsing patriarchy by not engaging in this discourse, by not realizing that their documentation is going to tell the world that there are women who are practicing. You know, when I started my own little work, many people don't even know that I have an architecture background because people realize me from a water background. And I am not a water person. It's just that I'm studying water in architecture. And for many, many years, nearly 20 years, still I struggle. People don't even consider water as part of architecture. And I am struggling and I'm fighting that battle to make water an integral part of architecture. And I think this is where the fight as a personal journey and then being woman has also been. I'm a loudmouth woman, educated woman from Indian standards. And it has not been an easy journey for me. So when I listen to all of you, I think it's also comforting, not that it's a sadistic pleasure, but also learning how people are maneuvering their life. I have also maneuvered it in a very different way as you all have done. So I think it's a learning journey for me. I mean, I run water shows as well. We run the longest water conversations where I'm learning about water from people. Not that I'm water expert. People do consider me, but I'm learning. Likewise, I'm learning life of women in this.
Mm.
So I'm a good listener and learner. I will be very honest on that. I mean, I love to sit in my cozy corner and learn about people. And I'm doing that very nicely because there's a similar series going on in Women in Water as well. And we have reached around 75 conversations there. These are beautiful conversations. Life of women, not what they do in water practice. So it's like now my alternate profession, you know, but I'm doing it, I mean, more as a passionate work. There is no research funding for it. We just volunteer. I have a very wonderful team. I must thank them at this point who work at the background. And these are all my ex students, so they help me seeing कि मैम कुछ करने की कोशिश कर रही है, बेचारी को help कर दो. So anyway, that's how
Our
we are.
gratitude also to them.
Oh yes, so you have a raising hand if you have something.
No, I just wanted to share with you that I also went through that little journey before accepting your invitation. Because the innate nature says that, I don't need to be documented. What is the need?
That's 90%. We have 90%
Okay.
cancellations and postponements in our appointments.
So,
90%. Can you imagine?
so it took me some time to
I understand.
convert in my mind. And that's when I said, then I'm going to pursue you now till it
Yes,
happens.
yes. I
Because
completely.
otherwise, I'm not supporting your project, but then I'm not supporting the cause which you are trying to do it for.
I don't even see it as my project, to be honest. It's a cause.
It has become a
I am
cause.
gaining
Yes.
anything out of it. We all are now having a movement. I mean, I'm so
Yes.
grateful to Monolita that she connected me to you, that I could learn about you. I think many, many women are not realizing, and probably I have to improve my communication to them when I am reaching out to them with my concept note and all, that why this documentation is required. You go to, and when I started writing my concept note, and I used to teach all over the country as a public speaker, every time I go to architecture school, I used to always ask, give me 5 women architects' names. It was always pin drop silence in the classroom. Then, with bit of anguish, I would say, at least give your teachers' names. You have college. You
Yeah.
see, the way we have, it's not only about women then, the way we have limited the definition of architecture is also very concerning to me. It's not about being women in architecture, because for 25 years, I am trying to work on making people understand, my architect friends who teach, who practice, that water is architecture, or
Mm.
else you don't use water in your buildings. You
Mm-hmm.
use water in your building, you have to consider it as building material, as a resource, as an infrastructure, but
Yeah.
you're unwilling to accept it as a, I mean, there is no
Mm.
architecture school as of today. I'm fighting for it that even teaches one credit of water in architecture.
Mm.
One credit out of 50 credits people teach.
Mm.
So this has been a journey. I mean, we all have an interesting journey. And I have been, by the way, interviewed for the same project by Kiran Kesarwan. And that video is also available. And I speak
Sure.
about
I'll
things.
be happy to share our buildings where we have used the water very actively
It's
throughout the building
very
in
nice.
very small projects, but very actively.
Thank
And
you
that
so
has
much.
changed the whole building. That has changed the experience of the building and the life of the building completely.
Absolutely. But I think everyone is using water. There's no building which is done without water. It's just the pedagogy and the profession to accept it that water is an instrumental in making architecture. Whatever
Mm.
way you
Yeah.
save or you make more or you use more water. But anyway, we will have more discussions on water. And
Sure.
I get very surprised when people relate me with water, but I'm not a water specialist. I'm just learning specialist. Neither I'm, I mean, I stand at such a wonderful space in my career where architects do not consider me architects, water experts do not consider me water experts, gender experts do not consider me gender expert. And I'm so happy that people misunderstand me. 90% of my water friends don't even know that I have architecture background. And
Right.
anyway, I'm outcasted by architecture profession for some time when I deviated my profession from my from my collaborative practice. So I like this space, you know, and because then I have a freedom like amoeba, like octopus, you know, I can do whatever I wish to do. I am not answerable to anybody,
Anyone.
and
Great.
nobody is funding my thoughts, nobody is funding my actions, and I can do what I wish to do. So it's a very beautiful
Great.
space. And I would not like to be recognized as a good architect, good water person, or a good teacher. अरे यार एक इंसान तो बन जाए गुड, बाद में बाकी सब
That's
बोलते
it. Let's
रहो.
begin with that.
Thank you so much, Supriti. Thanks a lot. And you
Thank you,
also
Mansi.
opened my heart. Thank you so much for that.